Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to the first of what seems to be many God of War videos coming to the channel. Now last night we had the fantastic PlayStation Showcase, which put on an incredible show letting us know what's going on with the next generation of games. With that said, one of the big AAA reveals that we did get here was of course God of War Ragnarok, a re-sequel to its 2018 counterpart. This of course dragged Kratos from his Greek origins to the Nordic pantheon, and we learn here that he has a son known as Atreus, and by the end of the first installment we learn that Atreus is in fact half frost giant, and none other than the god of mischief himself, Loki. And understandably, by the end of the first game, it painted a very interesting future of where the series was going and what the next installment could be. But what exactly is going on with God of War Ragnarok? Well, today, courtesy of PlayStation Blog and Santa Monica's own community manager, Grace or Lady, we finally have some details on what to expect from God of War Ragnarok, its characters, its story, and the future of the series as a whole. But before we do so, after my reaction video last night, please do give that a watch. They did do some pretty big character reveals on Twitter, showing us the cast of actors and characters that would be returning, as well as new individuals that will be joining us in this game. So with that said, let's get right onto them. Our two main returning characters are of course Kratos and Atreus, individuals who we will be playing in game. Along with that, another duo that will be coming back is Sindri and Brock, of course the blacksmith dwarves of the first game that had grown a very close relationship to the two. Our next character is the wisest head across the 9 realms, Mimir, and our final returning character is our ally now turned enemy, the Queen of the Valkyries, Freya, who is understandably at this point in time still out for blood against Kratos, as well he did kill Baldur in the last game. Now these are all the returning characters that we currently do know of, so let's jump onto our new characters here, starting off with none other than the Thunderer himself, Thor Odinson. Of course Thor is a very prominent figure in the Asgardian pantheon, but here in this iteration of the Norse pantheon, it seems like Thor is a drunk bloody bastard, and that's something that I do get from his design here. I know some may actually be confused, as most people have understandably been introduced to Thor from his MCU counterpart, but the design we have of Thor here is influenced by his more traditional Norse design, having red hair and being rather short. Now do not dismiss his gluttonous design, as he does wield one of the strongest weapons in all of the 9 realms, Mjolnir. Along with this, he does wear a power belt, something that increases his already incredible strength. Now, from what you can tell, much like Freya, the Odinson is out for blood, not just for the death of his half-brother, but his children, Magni and Modi. So I'm very intrigued to see how this does pan out. Now our next character here is Angrboda. For those of you unfamiliar with Norse mythology, Angrboda is a key part and component in the downfall of Asgard, as she is known as the mother of the monsters. In Norse mythology, she is the mother of Fenris, Jormungandr, and Hela. But of course in this interpretation of this character, it seems like she's far younger and seemingly the same age as Atreus, as the two are destined to be together. So I'm interested to see the interactions the two do have, and how does this play out in the grand scheme of things. Our next character is Durlin, a dwarf held up in very high regard amongst the realm, as he is known for also forging legendary weapons. Now, whilst Brock and Sindri may appear in this game, maybe Durlin himself looks to forge us something quite unique in the grand scheme of things. What could that be, however? I simply don't know as of right now. Now, our next and final addition to the God of War series is a character that we've heard so much of, but I've only seen recently, Asgard's God of War, Tyr. Now, Tyr has been painted as a very important figure in the series, being different from his fellow Asgardians, wanting to instead create bridges instead of destroying them. It put him in the crosshairs of the Allfather Odin, and due to the turmoil and tension between the two, Tyr mysteriously disappeared from the pantheon. So it led to the question here of, What happened to Tyr? What happened to this God of War? Well, it looks like we're going to find out about it here. Now, with all the characters covered, let's quickly move on to that PlayStation blog article I had talked about, as it briefs us on everything that we need to know about God of War Ragnarok. Now, right out the gate, what's going on with the story of Ragnarok? Well, the game actually takes place a few years after the end of the first game, so it doesn't start immediately after Baldur's death. The game starts in what's known as Fimble Winter, a time period between Baldur's death and Ragnarok itself, where a great cold storm chills the realms, which is a sign that the end days are soon to come. Along with this, at the end of the first game, Atreus learnt about his heritage and how his mother, Faye, was in fact a frost giant. Upon learning of his origins and seeing what had happened to Jotunheim and the giants, it has him start to question his own fate and destiny. Whilst he has been given the name Atreus, it was Faye that dubbed him as Loki, and he wants to know about his future and what part does he play in the Great War. So I believe that Atreus comes to the conclusion that the only way to get answers is by seeking out Tyr. Now, whilst Atreus has his eyes set on this, Kratos actually seems to be the opposing force. With his own history bathed in the blood of innocence and even his own family, Kratos is understandably very hesitant about Atreus' rise to godhood himself, as he doesn't want him to suffer a similar fate. We must keep in mind that the ghost of Sparta is more than likely shaken from the mural he did see at the end of the last game, foreshadowing that he may in fact die in the arms of his son, a fate that he could be possibly attempting to avoid. But with so much blood on his hands from the last game, this is simply a fight he cannot run away from. Along with this information, it's also pointed out here that it looks like this quest will not just bring them back to the same 6 realms we explored before, but in fact new areas of said realms and the 3 remaining realms that we didn't get to explore in the previous game. This was of course Vanaheim, Svartalheim, and Asgard. So hopefully this gives you a rough idea of just how large the scope of Ragnarok is and the story they are trying to tell. But of course, with the exploration of realms means new enemies and more combat. But what are the new enemies? Well, from the article, we learned that this game will not just have one main big bad, but in fact 2. Freya and Thor will be the main obstacles in your way for this story, with both understandably wanting revenge for their kin being slain. But outside of that, it's not like the realms themselves are that safe. In the trailer, we saw a plethora of different enemy types, including a centaur, but now we finally have a name for what it's called. This enemy type is referred to as a stalker, a giant centaur-like being that uses projectiles to draw you in. Our next enemy that we did see in the trailer that has now also been given a name is the Dreki, the giant armored alligator that does attempt to tear apart Kratos. However, what realm this actually comes from is unknown at the moment, so we will have to wait and see until we get more information about this ferocious enemy type. With new enemies comes new tools. And currently, as of covering this article, whilst Kratos may not be bringing anything new to the fight in terms of combat, it seems like Santa Monica wanted to expand on the gameplay that was there by giving Atreus and Kratos more offensive options. It seems from reading this article, they really wanted to make this combat system more versatile. So if you wanted more of a brawling style, you could do that. If you wanted a combat system based around runic attacks, you can also do that. You want a way to use your defensive options to your favor? Well, that is also possible. With a mix and match style of combat now, it seems like they are perfecting what they had crafted in the previous game by adding more versatility and creativity at your fingertips. So you'll be able to cut, dissect, and bring hell down upon your enemies in any way you see fit. Now, with that said, this has covered everything that we do currently know about the game post its reveal here. It's still extremely early days, so I guarantee you we will learn more very, very soon. And whilst we haven't been given a release date, we were told earlier on in the year that they were looking at 2022. So I don't feel like we are too far away from an official release. But until then, guys, that has been it for me here. I will be keeping you up to date with everything God of War related, so please do not forget to subscribe and tick that bell, as I'm very excited for this game and I can't wait for what the future holds in the next installment. Personally, I'm really looking forward for Atreus to explore not only his background, but the background of Kratos himself, as I don't feel like Atreus actually knows about Kratos' previous family, or the atrocities he did perform at the hands of Ares and Zeus. Who knows, with those callbacks there, we could see some old weapons from Olympus, and maybe Athena herself once again. But until then guys, that has been it for me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the new content. There's plenty more on the way. Please do not forget that whilst I'm doing God of War, I still will be doing fighting game stuff on this channel. Just want to give you more variety and cover more games that I myself do love. Now, until then guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.